extent.
Well, the weather patterns in the world have led many countries to come up with new and several ways that will motivate countries to adopt healthier, environmentally friendly forms of productions and, of course, development. Carbon credits is one such form. Now, carbon credits and carbon markets are a component of national and international attempts to mitigate the growth in concentration of greenhouse gases. To help us know about more about this is Senator Job Kareithi from Nyeri County. And of course, welcome back to the magazine segment. Welcome, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then let's begin on this factor. Tell us more about yourself, more about what you do.
Yes, Remy, my name is Captain Job Kareithi. I'm running as the Center for Nyeri. I'm running with the Farmers Party. It's because we believe in mitigating climate change within agriculture. And it's not just agriculture. We believe in mitigating climate change in different sectors. Agriculture being one of them, forestry being another one, areas of industry. There is what you call the green industrial schemes. That's another way that you can actually gain in environmental initiatives as you do your work. There are other areas like transport. In transport, again, that's another area where you can talk about carbon credits. You can talk about carbon credits in waste management, methane capture, and those other things. Some of these technologies are the things that are making countries like India, Brazil, South Africa, China grow very quickly, because whenever you bring in new technologies, you avoid greenhouse gases, then at the same point, you gain in a new component, a new commodity, the carbon credit. As it is right now, we have programs that are going on in Nyeri, primarily in agriculture. And in agriculture, one of the things that we're doing right now is to convert the old way of doing agriculture using fertilizers that are chemical fertilizers. Because when you use a chemical fertilizer, you end up emitting a gas that is very lethal. It's called nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide eventually goes to the sky, and then it gets into the clouds. When it gets into the clouds, then you get the rain coming in as nitric acid and nitrous acids. Now that's why you find all soils being acidic. Now, to avoid that, we have a fertilizer called biodeposit. When you use biodeposit, and by the way, Remy, biodeposit comes from freshwater lakes. Like, for instance, Lake Naivasha has got a lot of it. Lake Baringo has got, Lake Victoria. What happens is this: there's been all these fish that's been in that and all other marine lives, and they die, decay in the same place. Now what we do is we actually dredge, suck off all that deposit, and we create fertilizers out of it. Okay. Very, very potent.
Right. So how bad or good is Kenya doing when it comes to carbon emission?
You know, we are part of what you call the developing countries. So we are allowed to actually pollute. But when you avoid pollution, when you avoid greenhouse gases, then you gain by getting this certificate that eventually we refer to as carbon credits. So now, let's say we decide as a county, or even as a country, we decide we want to stop emitting nitrous oxide from our agricultural practices, then automatically we will then start gaining in carbon credits. Carbon credits are serious commodities, because you're selling it. All the people that are involved in pollution must actually clean that pollution that they did. As you understand, Kyoto Protocol made it clear that you could be in Kenya, polluting in Kenya, but you're polluting also in England, because the same air will go around the whole earth. So you find that it becomes necessary to actually quantify how much air you cleaned or how much avoidance of greenhouse gases you did, so that you can use it to now gain monetary value that you can now use. This is also, like now in Nyeri, we want...
How much can you avoid?
You can avoid a whole lot. Let me define a carbon credit so you can see where we can begin with. A carbon credit is the equivalent of removing 1 ton of carbon dioxide from the air. So let's say, if you take a tree that is so big, the whole tree is nothing else but carbon dioxide inside it, which is in form of a carbohydrate, which it is consumed during photosynthesis. So the more trees you have, the more carbon you tie from the atmosphere to the tree. It's called sequestering. You sequester the carbon into a tree. Now, what would happen if you burnt a forest? Then you release all that carbon back into the atmosphere, which becomes a problem and causes global warming and causes climate change. But if you were to create more forestry, like you noticed last year, there was a move by the late Minister Michuki to increase forestry in every property by 10%. So if you have 10 acres, you must have 1 acre of your land as agroforestry. The idea behind it is to increase the amount of carbon dioxide tied in trees, which actually gives a lot of carbon credit into the country. In areas like biogas, which is methane, methane is the gas, but when you hold it and you use it, it's called biogas. There are many beautiful things coming up. If you imagine all the livestock and the amount of carbon dioxide, the amount of methane that you gain out of it, if you were able to hold it, number one, it will not go to mess up the atmosphere. Number two, you use it now instead of cutting wood, you use it to cook. Number three, you bring in new technologies, not only on how to capture, but also how to bottle it, because we need to get to the level where you can bottle methane. By the way, you can even drive using methane, just like LPG. There are so many cars that are driven by gas. You can drive by using methane. So you find a farmer driving a vehicle from the gas that was emitted by his cows. So that kind of makes sense.
Yes, I do understand that. But let's go back to the Kyoto Protocol, which you just mentioned. Now you'll find that developed countries are not really signing this, right, like the U.S. So is it a problem that has been thrown to the third world countries?
Yes, it did. Actually, I am glad with Obama. Obama's second term just came up and said, Kyoto Protocol. Now they are going to be signing to it. But this is what it means. When the developed countries understand and agree to conform to the Kyoto Protocol, it really means that they will force their industries to have lower emissions. And if you can't have lower emissions, you can still emit, provided you buy clean air from other places. That's where we come in. So take Nyeri, for instance. We are doing an agricultural project that is going to be holding nitrous oxide using, by changing the form of fertilizer that has been used all the time. So Nyeri intends to not use the NPKs, DAP, and CN. The carbon credits you get, we can sell them to Germany, for instance, or to the US. Right now, it is winter in Germany. They are using a lot of energy. They are burning a lot of coal. Coal is spoiling the air. Now, to clean that, they need to come to Nyeri and buy this carbon credit that is big, because it's within all the lands in Nyeri. And so if we have 1 million carbon credits, then we sell to either Germany, Japan, what you call the industrialized countries, the Annex 1 countries in Kyoto Protocol. And those are the kind of things we are trying to get to. All the methane, imagine this, Remy, we want to do methane capture in all livestock in Nyeri so that every farmer also gets a biogas plant. Now, it may look like it is very ambitious, but think about it this way. Once we are able to do that, the farmer gets the methane capture project or gets the biogas program, but the amount of carbon credits coming out of all of them, when you add them all together, is so huge, it can run Nyeri for the rest of the 60 years. And
well, you've mentioned something that, this is all happening in Nyeri. What are you doing to make sure that you expand this to other areas of the country so that every part benefits from that?
In actual fact, the Nyeri program is only the pilot, the early program to measure the rest of Kenya with. This is a product or a concept that comes from the Office of the President. It actually comes in as what you call NAMA. It's Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Action. The Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Actions, the NAMAs, are meant to go national, but you have to start in a particular place. So we thought of taking data and doing the first pilot program in Nyeri. This NAMA in agriculture is actually what you call a NAMA in climate smart agriculture and good agricultural practices. Climate smart agriculture addresses agricultural issues such as, are you emitting when you're doing agriculture? Can you use that emission avoidance to even put put instruments like risk management for the farmers? Can you also pay farmers directly for having a clean air conscience when they're doing
just
it?
to interrupt you there. So how well structured are our policies to support carbon credits?
That's a very good question, Remy.
Initiatives, rather.
In fact, even the policies have been done. We have, through the office of through actually the Ministry of Environment and then the Ministry of Finance for carbon financing, we have come up with a very comprehensive program. We actually even right now are working on what you call the National Climate Change Action Plan. That's where we are right now. And the National Climate Change Action Plan even identified the areas where we would have the NAMAs, the Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Actions. That's what I am a consultant, and I deal a lot with the Office of the President and the National Economic and Social Council. And so this is something that's actually part of the policy within the country. It's only that we chose Nyeri as a good area to begin with so that we can expand to the rest of the country. And among the things the areas that we are dealing with are waste management. Like now, all the waste rots and releases methane, which we call biogas. Can we manage it so that we can even gain a credit out of it? Forestry. Everybody needs to add to the forest. Can we get more forestry and get more credits out of it? Agriculture. Food sustainability, food reserves, and all those other things. How can we produce better? How can we have better nutrition in the agriculture that we are doing? That's why we brought in biodeposit, which is a very good fertilizer that we are using. Then we have industries, green industrial schemes. How can we do industries that are actually not polluting? And when you do that, then you avoid that pollution and you gain in carbon credits. You look at other areas like transport. Eventually, how can you get efficient transport that you actually help in those kind of things? And so it's a big, wide area. We also touch areas like water because adaptation is really pretty much based on water. How available is water now that the earth is becoming hotter and hotter? Global warming, is it going to dry our lakes, or is it going to increase more water into it? Can we dredge lakes so that they can hold more capacity of water? And on and on and on. And in Nyeri, for instance, we are looking at going to areas like Mwega and creating water catchment areas, water pans and stuff like that. And then also getting water to actually, instead of just water going through Nyeri and getting away, we want to hold some water before it goes away and irrigate areas like Kieni properly. Because Kieni is actually like half of Nyeri. It used to be the old or equatorial forests, but now it's denuded. It's been completely deforested, and so the thing we need to do now is to actually create more greenery in it, create more agroforestry in it, and all those kind of things. This is what is happening right now through the adaptation.
Right. Let's take a look at the environmental conservation. Rather, it's a campaign that has been long overdue, and it's been sidelined as a result of industrialization and, of course, those aggressive campaigns that have been taking place. So, are we too far gone from making sure that environmental conservation does take place fully?
This is absolutely the right time to talk about environmental degradation and also to talk about how you can gain in an environmental initiative, even monetary gain. I'm glad that you brought in this thing, especially at a time like this where there is campaigns going on. Countries like South Africa have known how to harness the environmental initiative so that they can gain monetarily a lot out of it. And now this is what I would imagine. The 2030 vision was actually harnessed and tied on 3 pillars: social, economic, and political. Then they realized that that's not a balanced program. They must add sustainability into it. And the only way to do it was to bring in the environment. So once you bring in the environment into the 2030 vision, it really means that whatever you do, even when you plan a new cities like the new city that's being planned on Thika Road, on Mombasa Road, even when you plan those kind of cities, they must be done in such a way that they will be environmentally feasible. Tattoo City also, that's being done in Kiambu Road, around Kiambu area, needs to be environmentally feasible. When you think about Thika